Thank you everyone for coming by. First, let's acknowledge that this library and Marin County is on the ancestral lands of the Coast Miwok people, including the Coast Miwok Tribal Council of Marin and the Federated Indians of Graton Rancheria. Welcome to our discussion on Coast Miwok culture, past, present, and future. Recently, the Museum of the American Indian at Miwok Park reopened with plans for new exhibits, programs, and celebrations. I'm really excited to see the museum's new chapter, and I encourage everyone to check it out in Novato. Now I'd like to introduce our speaker, Dean Hoaglin. Dean is the MAI Board President and a lineal descendant of the Tamal'ko Coast Miwok of the Huukuiko Band from the village of Etcha Tamal, with ancestral ties to Olumpali and Liwanelowa. His training in traditions from family elders informs his over 25 years of social service work, and I'm really honored to welcome you to the Mill Valley Library. Thank you.
All right, I don't know if do I need this? Can y'all hear me? Yeah. It's all right if I even say y'all. All right. Opentoa sa'i aniko. So in my Coast Miwok language, I say hello relatives. Not only just hello relatives, but hello, how are you? And it's something, that's unique about our language. Because it can be just like one word and it means so much, right? Aniko is relative. And so I'm thankful, I'm honored to be here. And I don't know why, I'm just a little nervous, but it's okay.
If I bring the microphone just a little closer.
Yeah. So again, how's that? All right. So like I said, just every time I speak, it's just a little different, and I should be used to this. This is what I do, professionally, speak. And I never thought that I would be doing this. I was always the shy guy, shy person. Like in school, I'd sit way in the back of the classroom, ready to run out. But again, it's part of my growing up too. And so again, I'll start off, again, like I said, just saying hello, in that good way. And the way I was taught, is anytime like we come and share who we are as indigenous, as Huukuiko. That's the name of our people. Most of you know us as Coast Miwok, but we are Huukuiko. And that speaks to all of these villages here in what is referred to as Marin County. And so I'll just speak on, again, my tribal heritage, because again, indigenous way we speak about, we introduce ourselves from, the villages that we come from. And Benja just mentioned, one of my villages, and which makes sense because we're here on, my Coast Miwok ancestral land, and so I come from the village of Etcha Tamal, and that's where my great-grandmother was born, and I have a photo of her, and I'll get into that. But first, again, on my maternal side, I'm Coast Miwok, and I'm also Pomo. Anybody ever heard of those Pomos? I always say I'm a proud Pomo sapien, yeah. Grandpa, it's my grandpa, my maternal grandfather. It's all his fault. And then on my father's side, I'm Yuki and Wailaki, which are from Mendocino County, the Round Valley Indian Reservation. So I come from 4 different nations. So it's pretty cool, all my grandparents. And then there's, how many Irish relatives we have in here? Any? Yeah, and you Irish, you guys snuck into our camps, by the way. Yeah. My Pomo great-grandfather, he was half Irish. Yeah, and so it's interesting, just how we learn about, again, not only where we come from, but again, other, I guess, part of the clans. So, and that's a part of, again, the experience of here in America, right? And so I want to start us off in a good way again, relatives, if I can offer a song, because I'm a traditional cultural bear too. What that means is I was blessed with teachings of our traditional and cultural ways, and I'm kind of old now, but I'm a traditional dancer. I don't know if I got one more dance in me, but I'm transitioning into becoming a singer. And so it's new, that role is different because every time I sing too, I want to dance. And when I hear my relatives, like, when they sing, and I feel that, and that's what we call our way or our medicine. I was gifted with that, and I would bless all my relatives whenever, and it reminds me when I would dance. A lot of my elders, they would come to me and they would thank me for dancing for them. Because we don't just dance for ourselves. We're praying. We don't just dance and pray for ourselves. We pray for our relatives and for future generations. So I'm going to offer this song. Excuse me. I'm just getting over allergies. I don't know what it is, for the last 3.5 weeks. I can't get rid of this thing. But I'll do my best. And like I said, go easy on me. I'm still learning. So again, I say Wali Toish, which is thank you in our Coast Miwok language. And there's going to be a test after, too. I'm going to ask y'all. Remember, what was that? How did we say hello? How did we say thank you? Right? And wow, it was a beautiful ride to come here today. For the most part, when I actually drove over here, I actually had my car serviced in San Rafael, so it was all day wait. But when I got over here, coming over here and looking up at the mountain, Tamal'ko is how we say that mountain. Tamal'ko. I know y'all say it differently, right? Just a little bit. Yeah. So and again, it's nice to be here and share just a little information. And I put this together, and I want to thank Benja and Nancy, for their awesomeness and helping me get this up here for you all. Okay, so I'm gonna again. I didn't want to put it up there like I said. We are Huukuiko, but we're known as the Coast Miwok, right? And that's through history, that's through time. But the great thing about the fact that I'm here and that I get to share our story, our truth, and because a lot of times what happens, especially with indigenous history, it's his story, it's somebody else's story, right? And so that's why I have a lot of gratitude, and I was willing to come here today and be with you all, and so again, my work. I just retired back in December, working 30 years in social service for Indian Health Service, and it's like now I'm like working harder and more than I did when I was working full time. I'm like here and there. Whew. Yeah, so I'm trying to catch up. It's hard for me, people ask me to come to tribal communities to help them, and so I do what I can, and I got to learn how to set what do they call it, healthy boundaries, and say no. It's okay to say no at times, right? And so, and I drove up today. I grew up in Santa Rosa in Sonoma County, but my story goes like this. And I'll start it off with just to show you some of my family. All right, hopefully I can get this right. It all started with my great grandmother. And I don't know if any of you ever heard of her, if you study Coast Miwok history, right? And this is a photo of my grandmother, Maria Copa. And there's a book that that was put out. It was Interviews with Tom Smith and Maria Copa by Elizabeth Kelly. I don't know if you all heard of it, but if you've seen that book, they have this photo of my great-grandmother in there. But in the photo in that book, it says of Marshall, like she was of Marshall. No. And we just found out, one of our council members informed me that this photo was taken at Nicasio. And I just had this feeling, because I see that it's kind of hard to see in the background, but those hills, I said, that's at Nicasio. That's on, and I'm getting like, I can feel that spirit when I even say that, because I have that connection with the land and with, again, with my ancestors. And that's where my great-grandmother was born. She was born in Nicasio at the village, right? She moved later to Marshall, because that's where, they lost the land there. There's a whole story, right? Losing the land. That sounds familiar, right? And so, and I just love this. I love this photo, and just thankful that, it's a part of my legacy too, right? And I want to keep my grandmother's. I think I've done a pretty good job of it to keep her legacy alive. And again, there she is, and she's with my grandmother. That's my grandmother, Julia Frias Elgin, my mom's mom, and my great-grandmother, Maria. And this, I'm not sure of the location of this, but like many of our indigenous folks, like when we relocated, we still had to like find a way to make a living, my family. And a lot of them were migrant workers, right? Working in the fields. I remember that. And so, and I think that just growing up and just feeling a sense of, some people say, wow, how was that for you? And I remember going to school, and even because like I said, I'm old, and when I was young though, going with my family out to those fields, and like in school, when we come back from summer, all the kids would they'd ask the kids, what'd you do for summer? Like we'd share like what we did. I said, oh, we went camping. It was the greatest time, right? We were camping, went swimming in the river, right? But love this photo too. And this one, I thought it was important also to show this photo. This photo that's my grandmother to the far right when she was a little girl. And the little lady, the elder that's with her, that's my grandmother's grandmother. So that's my great-great-grandmother. And so it's pretty awesome that I have this photo and that, I have a story and, it's not like I'm making this up, right? And it's funny, the gentleman in between Grandma and her grandmother is one of her relatives. His name was Joe Monzaga. And his family is still here, in the area. And some of his grandchildren are part of Great and Rancheria, as well as some of my family too. But my great-great-grandmother her name was Juana Batista. So I love that. I love that photo. And that came from our family. And I love this photo too. This is, again, my family. There's my grandmother and a relative. I think that's, I'm not sure if that was Joe Sanchez, but you can see this little kid right here in the front. That's my Uncle Anthony. We called him Sonny Elgin. And those structures behind them, and this is on the beach at Marshall. That was our home. That was where my grandfather lived, and that's where my mom was born, at Marshall in 1937, May 26th. My mom's got a birthday coming up. And so that little kid right there, that's my mom's brother, my uncle. And Brother Brian knows my uncle. So, and you can't see it, but in this photo also, if it was, the full picture, there was actually another child in front of my grandmother, and it was one of my aunties. But I love that photo, and tells a lot. Tells a lot. If you go there today, and I think I have a picture of it, but like through time, all those homes are gone, obviously. How many of you have been to Marshall, Tomales Bay? Right? I know you had to go to like, Nick's or one of those places, right? And this is kind of a tough photo. It's kind of hard. This is my mom and her sisters. All these beautiful Coast Miwok women, right? My mom was the baby. She's in the front. And my Aunt Mabel, my Aunt Pauline, my Aunt Dula, and my Aunt Cedra. So they were all from Marshall. They're all Coast Miwok, right? And my mom was the last one. I lost her about 3 years ago, and she was the last one. My uncle was still around, but I know he was heartbroken, because they come from a family, of 12 children, to be the last one. It's kind of tough, right? And to have that life that you lived together for so long, and the bond and the connection that they had was so beautiful, right? And so, these women are just gave me so much, And we come from a matrilineal society, where the women are the shot callers. Yeah. But, hey, I admit it, even as old as I am, I'm a mama's boy, grandma's boy. I had no problem with that. But the gift, from my mom and my aunties and my grams is just teaching me how to love, teaching me how to nurture, And believe it or not, all the men in here, we have the capacity to nurture, right? So I'm going to kind of bring it up, forward a little bit. And this is a photo. I don't know how many of you have been to Point Reyes National Seashore, Kuliloklo. Kuliloklo is a big part of my life. It's a big part of, again, our story as Coast Miwok in the sense of recreating, what it was like, traditionally in a village. Did the best they could, and but this has a special meaning. This is actually a photo of the roundhouse. How many ever heard of the roundhouse or been there to Kuliloklo? Yeah, and so our roundhouse or our dance house it's like our traditional church. That's where we go to have ceremony. That's where we go to pray, to dance, and to sing, and to, celebrate. And sometimes we don't just go to okay, let's just go over there and dance. Everything we do as indigenous people, as Coast Miwok people, is intentional, right? It's intentional, and there's certain times throughout the year that we have specific ceremonies too. And so there was a gentleman, and I don't know if many of you may have heard of him. His name was Lanny Panola. And he was a ranger there at Point Reyes. And he more or less oversaw Kuliloklo. And the thing that Lanny and I had in common was, and he called me cousin, but he was my cousin's cousin. And that's how we are, indigenous way, If you're related to my cousin, you're my cousin, right? And so, but Lanny was Coast Miwok and Pomo too. But he'll tell you, I'm more Coast Miwok. Yeah, okay. And so he was the cultural bearer. He was the traditional keeper of our ceremonies, and there at Kuliloklo. And so through time, as I went there and I participated in the gatherings, Lanny told me, and it was getting close to when he was like, a little bit, maybe a little bit before he made his journey, that he goes, it's going to be up to you. You're going to have to carry this forward. He's talking about, again, the cultural, traditional ways. And so that was like, at first I was like, whoa, that's a big responsibility, But I think it made sense after, I prayed on it, and then I accepted that, and talked to my mom about it. And the one thing my mom told me was, if you choose to do this, you can't just like quit, right? You can't just like give it up. You gotta continue till someone else picks it up, And I think that's happening now. So what we did, and I share with my mom is, I think we should have an annual honor dance for our grandmother, Maria Copa. And so that's what happened at Kuliloklo. And so this is like the flyer of the first dance at Kuliloklo in honor of my grandmother. Maria Copa honor dance at Kuliloklo. 2008 was the first year. You remember that, Brian? Yeah, and so we went up to, I believe, 2019. Does that kind of sound familiar that year? Yeah, remember kind of like what we were heading into, right? And it was the last year before COVID hit. And so, yeah, and with this, my grandmother's legacy continues, right? And so, I'm thankful that my family supported me, and that's what it was. It was kind of like our family hosting every year, and we'd invite traditional families, traditional dancers and singers from out the region. There'd be, Miwoks, because there's the Miwoks, and the story of our people, we're Coast Miwok, but there's also Miwoks that go all the way, east into Sacramento, go up towards Auburn, the Nisenan Miwoks, and then they kind of, I don't know how they kind of end up going south from there. There's Ione, and they go into Tuolumne. I don't know if you all know where Tuolumne is, Sonora. Then they go all the way down to Yosemite, Southern Sierra Miwoks. But those are our relatives. And so the first time we had this, we had relatives from Tuolumne come and dance with us. So I'm proud of that. I want to share that. But guess what happened recently? How many heard? So we are I'm a part of the Coast Miwok Tribal Council of Marin. I guess in a way we're like the new guys on the block. But we've always been here. So, but it is like a homecoming for us, right? Just last year, we started about 4.5 years ago. We formed. We got together. And I'm not a member of Grayton, but it's an interesting story. I'll just share this. My mother was a member of Grayton. But she always encouraged me to continue to do what we can to carry on the cultural ways and to seek out coming back to home here, having a place of our own. And so last year we had because we had started looking for land about a year and a half ago, and we were we came Inverness, Point Reyes, San Geronimo Valley. We went all over Marin. But it just, for some reason, it was meant for us to come back home to Etcha Tamal at Nicasio. And one of our elders from back home told me, even before when we started, he goes, Dean, that land is calling you back. The land is calling you back. And I paid attention. And so that became a prayer. That became an intention to seek that, right, in the best way. And so last year we had a fundraiser, and there's some generous people. Thank you all, if you were one of them, that supported us acquiring our land. So we acquired 26 acres at Nicasio, and it was challenging. It wasn't like, it was, okay, let's just go do it, because we had some opposition. It happens, Somebody's always going to, test you, right? But it's easy to give up. But like I encourage our council, is that Creator coming for us? It's like, Yahoo! All right, keep going. So, so we this land cost us $1.3 million. We were able to raise $1.7 million in less than, I think we got it in 28 days, less than a month. And, but it was getting really scary, when we had this fundraiser. And because there was one group that opposed us and sent a letter to all our funders saying, don't support them. And I think it backfired on that individual and that group. And so, we just stuck with it. And, we were blessed to have our land. And then we met with our neighbors, and that was interesting. And that was fun, too, because I asked I asked all our neighbors, our new neighbors, I go, how many of you know what unceded land is? Do you all know what unceded land is? It's basically a stolen land. It was land that wasn't given away freely, right? And so it was interesting because nobody knew. But then, after they understood that, I thanked them for taking care of our land. I said, thank you for taking care of our land. We're home now. We got this, And there's things that go with that. There's a responsibility. We understand that, right? And so just kind of coming up to this year, one of the things we I guess prayed about, and it came to us that this space, because it's on our ancestral land, we found out that that's where we had our ceremonies historically. This is going to be our land for ceremonies. So just recently on, one of our council members goes, let's do it in May, May 4th. May the 4th be with you, right? Something like that. So we call it the blessing of our land. And so that day, how many of you remember May 4th? Anybody? Was it a little rainy? Yeah, huh? And it was like the week before, and I looked at the forecast. We all looked at the forecast and said, oh, heck. Really, Creator? It's beautiful all the week. And then on that Saturday, here comes the storm, right? So myself and one of our other council members, it was up to us to make the decision. We said no. We called it out. We called our relatives to come. We're going to have it. And so I made the call, and once we made that decision, I said, hey, we're still going to have this. You're welcome to come out, and we're just going to start a little bit later because we looked at not that we're wizards, weather wizards, but kind of try to plan it accordingly. And wouldn't you know, everyone showed up. And clouds broke, there's clouds there. And I think this was our second group. And these gentlemen singing, they are, one of the young men is Coast Miwok and Pomo, and he's there with his father. And the other two are Pomo, or Putwin they're called. And Putwan, those are our relatives. They come from like, anybody know where Solano is? Vallejo, that area, all going all up there. Those are all Putwans. And the meaning of that name is the people. So they came and, on that day. And so this is our, like, what we did. We cleared this area. We made our makeshift arbor, our dance arbor. And right here is where we're going to put our roundhouse. It's gonna happen. Because we believe that everything happens because we're guided by the prayers of our ancestors. That's why we're still here. In spite of, again, if you didn't know anything about indigenous history, all the things that our people encountered through history is what we call genocide, right? The loss of lives, the killing of our people, the taking of our land, the separation of our families, taking of our children. Man, our people are resilient. So I'm thankful. This is that same group that came to dance for us. And the reason why I picked this photo out is because of these little guys. They're cute, aren't they? But why I felt that was important to show that gives me hope. This gives me hope that our traditions, our culture is going to carry on. Because these kids, they were born with it. They're going to be the ones carrying it on. Right? They're getting ready for ceremony this weekend. They were loving it out there. And this is one of my good friends on the left. And then the big guy on the right, that's one of my relatives. And so I was thankful for that. They came out. And then, so what a celebration. So now, again, did I say I was the president of the board for the Museum of the American Indian? Dang it. I just didn't want you guys to call me Mr. President. I'm humbled in that, because the way I see, titles are titles, but I know that the greatest role in this, I was told this a long time ago, that the greatest role that we could have as indigenous people is to be of service to our people. And that's how I see it. How can I help, right? This was actually the week before the blessing of our land at the museum. This is our tribal council with one of our relatives to the far left. His name escapes me. But yeah, I'm just like so thankful. The young lady and the gentleman right next to her, they are daughter and father. They are newest council members, Alyssa and John Simmons. I'm thankful for them. And the gentleman in the front, notorious, no, I'm just kidding. He's our tribal historical preservation officer, Jason Deschler. And Jason, wow, he did an incredible job at the museum with our exhibit. How many of you have been to the museum since it opened? What do y'all think? Is it open now? Yeah, it's open now. Right now we're open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And starting in June, we're going to expand it, And in fact, I got an interview tomorrow for a new staffing person. Because right now our board is like covering, right? But it's open. And so, yeah, Jason did an incredible job with the display. So, and how many of you know, like the museum's been closed for a while, right? And so when you go there, if any of you, when I went there like, I don't know, year and a half ago or a year, it was like, no way. How are we gonna make it where it's, gonna be open? And so we just like pulled it together. There was only a few of us, as far as, board members, and now we have a full board. And so I'm truly thankful. And here's some of our dancers. And at the grand opening there, it was a beautiful day. There was no rain, maybe a little wind, but. And this photo, this person right here, this is Sister. I call her Sister Rose. Her name's Rose, and I love this photo because Rose is Pomo and Coast Miwok, and so, and if you can see the dancers back there, the guy. I don't know if you guys can see the guy with the drum. He's hitting the drum back there. That's her son, and this is his dance group, and they're based out of Sonoma County. But there's some Coast Miwok that are in the group. So it was pretty special to have them there. And we're looking forward to, I don't know if any of you have heard of the trade feast. So we're going to bring that back, and I believe that's in September. Does it get hot in Marin in September? Good. And this is, I just grabbed a couple of photos of a couple of the exhibits. And this is an exhibit of a female dancer. And this is what Jason created for us. He did an incredible job. You know, I just want to point out something. The belt, that belt. So Jason, what he did was he just, like, he did research on it. And so that was like, you know, kind of the design historically that we, our people would make those belts. But that red would be feathers of a certain bird that willingly gave its feathers for a good cause. But that's something, though. I was just like, wow. And this is the male dancer exhibit at the museum. And the same with the belt. He's got his dance whistle. The headpiece that he's wearing, that's the flicker band. How many of you know what a flicker bird is? Yeah. Related to those woodpeckers, right? If you see any, if you get any feathers, let me know. I'll take them off your hands. Collector of them. And the dance stick in the front, I donated that. That was gifted to me. And yeah, so this is part of our exhibit. And yeah, we did it. Jason led it, but everybody came together. And so if you go into the museum, the first floor is all Coast Miwok. And then upstairs, take the elevator upstairs. Yeah, right, I wish. That's the other indigenous groups. It looks really nice. Where's the museum? Did somebody ask? 2020 Novato Boulevard? Yeah, it's kind of over that way. That's how we like give directions. We point with our lips. All right, traditional way. So this place, I kind of mentioned this place, right? Tomales Bay. That's Tomales Bay. And see the old photo? Remember the old photo I shared? That's where my family's home was, right there, on those waters. Right? So how many years ago was that? My mom was born in 1937. And then my family, they moved when my mom was 5 years old. So in 1942, they left Marshall and moved to Santa Rosa. Yeah. But they always came back. There was always come back. Right? I go there just to be there. And there's something special that happens there too. You know, there's this place, and it's right above it. And I'm sorry, but that's the best picture I could grab. This is our cemetery, right above those waters. This is where a lot of my family, my ancestors, are buried. Actually, my great-grandparents, Maria Copa, she's buried here. along with my great-grandfather, her husband, Antone Frias, my mom's grandfather. And I have uncles and I have cousins that are buried there. I think I have a great uncle that's buried there too. One of my mom's brothers, or actually my grandmother's brother. So that's a pretty special place, to pay respect to, have that as a monument, and very, very sacred to us. Of course, I got to go there and cheese, right? I'm always happy when I go there. This actually is a signature pose. I created it. I'm a FBI, by the way. I'm a Facebook Indian. And like everybody would see me in all my photos. And whenever I see relatives, they want to take a picture with me. And they're like, let's do the wave. I don't know. Caught on for a little bit, but it died out. But I'm truly, every time I get the opportunity to go to, our ancestral lands, it, I feel blessed. I still think about, because we used to go there for family gatherings. And there's my mama. Her name was Rita Elgin Carrillo. And this is at her home in Santa Rosa. So I just want to end it there. And what I put there is, again, what it represents. Those roses and my mom represent love and beauty. And I'm blessed because of her. And hopefully I can continue to, make her proud that I'm keeping her legacy and our family, our people's legacy alive. Thank you, Mama. All right. I'm open for questions. Or